Okay, great. Hi, everyone. So my name is Hannah Harley. I'm the site director here at SAMA Altoona. SAMA is the Southern Alleghenies Museum of Art. And today we're kicking off our lecture series called The Grand Beginnings, which is art history through SAMA's permanent collection. This exhibition actually opens on Friday, so you'll be able to come in and see it Friday, Saturday, Sunday of this week, or come to our opening reception. So the Southern Alleghenies Museum of Art operates the nation's longest running museum satellite system with 5 museum facilities in southwestern Pennsylvania cities of Altoona, Bedford, Johnstown, Ligonier, and Loretto. SAMA's 5 museums offer award-winning education programs, special events, and approximately 30 to 40 exhibitions annually. So because we change out our exhibitions about every 2 to 3 months, you're always going to find something different at a SAMA site that you visit. So for example, here at Altoona, we're changing out our exhibitions to install this brand new exhibition, The Grand Beginnings. And when you visit in a couple months, it'll be something different. So that is one of the things that we're really excited about. We show work from our permanent collection, as well as work from local, regional, and international and national artists. So the SAMA permanent collection, that began with just 47 paintings, drawings, and sculptures in 1976, and since then has grown to 7,500 pieces, which are stored in a secured facility in Loretto, Pennsylvania. This is managed and maintained by the whole SAMA staff, but primarily by our registrar, who's Beverly Hartnett. She's in the center of that picture there, in the blue. And it's primarily focused on American art, per SAMA's mission. So this collection, it's all sorts of pieces, whether that is paintings, photography, drawing, sculpture. It's everything from things that are 12 foot by 20 foot to things that are much more, that are tiny, that are an inch by an inch. It's in this facility in the Loretto Museum. And this facility has to be very carefully maintained for moisture control as well as temperature control. So we can't let any of our pieces get damaged by any sort of those factors. So we have to make sure that that facility is maintained at a very specific standard. The permanent collection, those pieces come into the museum through donations, through purchases, and through an acquisitions process that's somewhat rigorous, in which there's a committee that meets quarterly and then votes on how to bring those pieces into the collection. So with 7,500 pieces, we have quite a big collection for being a regional art museum. And we have everything from prints from the 1500s to I think we have a photograph that someone made last year. So it's a really varied collection and really exciting when we get to share it with the public like we are in this exhibition. So we want to talk a little bit about understanding our history. So the ways that we do that are the who, what, where, and how. So understanding each of those elements of an artwork really helps us understand then the influences and the impacts, the social and political and environmental factors that then play into the artwork. So understanding, say, if someone painted something in 1942 Paris, it's very different than if they painted in something in 2010 Paris. And then you can kind of follow along with history as well along with art history. So you can kind of see how art movements and artists might be influenced by the world around them. So as we go through this lecture series, we're going to be kind of breaking down some of the artwork that we have in this exhibition and how the context around the artwork really can change our perspective of the artwork. So looking here at 2022, it's very different than when they were perhaps making the original artwork. So that's going to be something that we really get to explore through each of these lectures. So The Grand Beginnings is our exhibition title, and we are exploring art history in this accessible way, kind of giving that like kind of baseline knowledge and way to talk about art through the SAMA permanent collection. We're going to look at work by Andy Warhol, Norman Rockwell, Mary Cassatt, Marc Chagall, Margaret Bourke-White, Pierre-Auguste Renoir, who's on the right, and David Hockney, and so many more talented artists. We're going to be utilizing the permanent collection that we've talked about. And we're going to have, if you come to see the exhibition in person, each piece is going to have wall text that contextualizes it, as well as information about the artist, the art movements, the medium, things that might make it a little bit easier to understand. And this is going to be focused on American art from the 1700s to today. So this is really to make sure that you can understand where artwork is coming from and how it's getting made, and kind of giving you, again, that baseline so that you're not walking into an art museum and walking out and you're like, what just happened? This should be something that's able to walk you through American history alongside art history. And we are so excited to be presenting this exhibition. So January 25th, we'll be talking about the dawn of American art. So we'll look at the 1700s. This kind of is epitomized in this Gilbert Stuart painting. Gilbert Stuart kind of defined American style of painting. And we're going to kind of dive into portraiture and power in the 1700s American society. So how art played a key role of establishing kind of the gentry of early American visual politics. So this portrait actually is like a series of portraits of Gilbert Stuart's first cousin. And we'll have it on display, but we'll also be able to kind of look at it in detail here and really go into how colonialism shifted from early American colonialists to actually kind of having their own style as they broke off from the visual understanding of like British style. So that's going to be our next talk. That'll be January 25th. February 8th, we're going to look at expansionism and naturalism at really the early 1800s. That's George Hetzel and Hermann Herzog are two of the painters that we have in this exhibition that really capture these ideas. And this was really looking at how nature got to have this kind of great moment because it felt like this grand, expansive new world that they painted with such romantic beauty. We'll talk about the Scalp Level School that was near Ligonier, PA. That's comparable to kind of the Hudson River School that became really, really famous for what they did. We'll also start to look at the beginning influence of Impressionism. We'll focus on Mary Cassatt, Pierre-Auguste Renoir, and then Henri-Marie Raymond de Toulouse-Lautrec, which we'll try and pronounce that all together because it's quite a mouthful for such a short man. So it'll be really fun to kind of see how French styles start to influence American styles and how you see the shift from naturalism into more of these impressionistic styles as we go closer to the 1900s. And then the next time we'll meet, we'll do a look at modern art. So really looking at the 1900s and using modern art as a really expansive term. We'll look at these emergence of new mediums, photography, illustration, pop art, including everything that includes like performance art and public art, all sorts of different things that really begin to change the way that art exists and is presented. So we'll look at Andy Warhol, Norman Rockwell, Margaret Bourke-White, David Hockney, and more. We'll look at different art movements and how they play into society through the photo successionists, surrealism with Dali, minimalism, concept art, and pop art. Understanding and exploring political and social influences to art movements. This is where we can really start to see that come into play more and more. All of these movements, all of these artists tend to be influenced by the goings on in the 1900s and use that as a way to fuel their experience, to fuel their art making. So this piece by Norman Rockwell will be on display, as well as all of the artists that we've listed so far will also be on display, including a Dali print, which is quite exciting if you want to kind of explore surrealism through this exhibition. We'll then move into contemporary art, looking at the 2000s, which now is the last 22 years of art practice. So we'll look at what we've seen in the past couple of decades and think and talk about what we can expect in the coming decades. This will be a really light lecture that will also then have a kind of open discussion on what we found that's really excited us about art in the last couple decades, whether it is more traditional art that is being found in new ways and created in ways that are really exciting, or if it's something that's totally crazy that really made you think. We're going to kind of dive into that. And then we're also going to look at SAMA's recent collection acquisitions. So we have a couple of those pieces in this exhibition, and we're trying to think of how a museum might go about collecting artwork and seeing what recent artists have been brought into the SAMA permanent collection and learning about those people. A lot of them are living artists. Of course, we get donations and we purchase artwork that's from much earlier, but I know that we have collected recently artists that are still living. So it's really exciting that we then get to share this process and kind of hear from people of what they're really excited about and look back at the last 22 years in contemporary art and kind of think about where it could be going, kind of muse and delight in that process. So we want to share a little bit of this, which is one of these kind of like a vignette into what we're going to be sharing during this lecture series. So this portrait is called The Somber One. It's by Mary Cassatt. She's American who lived in Paris for much of her life. And so we're just going to read this excerpt for you so you can learn a little bit more about it. So the year was 1871. The place was Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania, 70 miles east of Pittsburgh. After 4 years of study in France and 2 celebrated artistic successes at the French Academy's Paris Salon, the 27-year-old artist had been forced out of Europe by the Franco-Prussian War. During her years overseas as a student, Cassatt's family had moved from Philadelphia's urban hubbub to Hollidaysburg, a place where Cassatt had little artistic inspiration, few models, and a desperate need to earn money from her painting. Always passionate about art and confident that she would eventually become an artistic star, Cassatt was ready to quit. She wrote to a friend, "I have given up my studio and have not touched a brush for 6 weeks, nor will I ever again until I see some prospect of getting back to Europe." Cassatt eventually shook off her malice and took 2 of her paintings to Pittsburgh. There, Michael Dominic, the Bishop of Pittsburgh, liked her work enough to give her a $300 commission to journey to Italy to copy 2 religious masterpieces for Pittsburgh's new St. Paul's Cathedral. A month later, Cassatt left for Europe and would never again live in the United States. Now, this is an excerpt from a 1999 article called Lasting Impressions by Karen McPherson for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And it's one of the ways that we want to show how, coming up with research, showing how, Mary Cassatt was influenced and inspired in Hollidaysburg in maybe ways that she was not very excited about. But, as someone who lives in Hollidaysburg, I can say there can be some artistic inspiration, if not for Mary Cassatt, but really exciting that such a pivotal character in the Impressionist movement had spent time in Hollidaysburg specifically, and then traveled back to France to continue her career. So it's things like these little golden nuggets that we're hoping to continue to uncover together and share with each of you as we go forward through with this exhibition. So we want to share a little bit about what's upcoming here at Sama Altoona. We have the 2 exhibitions here, The Grand Beginnings and Our Backyard, Blair County and Beyond with Sam Dietze, that are opening this Friday. That's 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The event is free. We have light refreshments. Sam Dietze will be here. Unfortunately, Andy Warhol won't be here but his artwork will. So you can come and see that, kind of get a taste for what we'll be talking about more and more. January 25th, we'll have the Dawn of American Art, and we'll be meeting all of these times at the 12:30 to 1 o'clock slot. And our plan is to always be done by that 1 o'clock time frame, just so that you have enough time to really eat your lunch and enjoy this little kind of reprieve in your day. February 8th, we'll do Expansionism and Naturalism. February 22nd, Modern Art. March 8th, Contemporary Art. And I just want to let you know that we also have an event February 11th called From Italy with Love. You can come to get all that information at the sama-art.org, which you can find right here. So we want to thank you and ask if there are any questions as our phone rings, kind of on the dot, right? So we want to ask any questions. Normally these are going to be a lot more in depth, but we wanted to introduce the project and talk to you about how we're going to be going about this exhibition and really showing you the space as we get it all set up. So if there are any questions, please write it in the chat. And keep in mind, we are closed this Wednesday and Thursday as we finalize the installation, but we are normally open Wednesday through Sunday, 12 to 4:30. It's always free to come to the museum. And you can find out more about our different events, exhibitions, and all 5 of our sites at the link there, sama-art.org. If you have any questions, please let me know. We're so glad you're here. And I think we'll just I'll finish this screen sharing. And thank you all so much. We can't wait to continue to share this exhibition with you and SAMA's permanent collection, which has an immense amount of talent and great art history. So thank you all so much. We're looking forward to sharing the next couple months with you as we delight in, really diving into these topics together. So thank you so much. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and happy Tuesday.